Netflix's Our Planet takes viewers around the globe to see some of nature's wonders. I'm Zach Laws, contributing editor at Gold Derby, and with me now is Keith Scholey. He's one of the executive producers of this series. And Keith, you've got a lot of experience producing these nature documentary series. I guess you're sort of like the Dick Wolf of the genre. Tell us just a little bit about how this one got started.
Well, as you said very kindly, that we made lots of natural history films in the past, but Alistair Fothergill and I, my partner in crime, when we started this one, we wanted to make it more about a story of our time. So it was going to be a big natural history show, but we'd become very concerned by the way the natural world seems to be falling apart. So we wanted to have a really strong environmental story in there. So and that, I think, is the fresh aspect to it.
Well, expand on that a little bit, because I mean, certainly, you know, it's a topic of concern for a lot of people, especially people, you know, in my generation, who hear things like, by the time you're 50 years old, the planet's going to be uninhabitable. Wow. So can you just expand on that a little bit, why it was important to, you know, add that aspect to this?
Well, I think obviously we need to do something about it. I think the thing I always found most frustrating is that people think it's unsolvable. Mm-hmm. And so there's this kind of feeling of despair, it's going to happen any old way. And it really doesn't have to be like that at all. We've got a huge amount of information now about the problems, huge amount of solutions. And a lot of this stuff is really quite straightforward. So it's about, you know, saying, come on, guys, let's just go and do something about it. So I think the idea of Our Planet is it's aspirational. You know, it's about, you know, you can fix this thing, and but don't hang around waiting, fix it.
Right, and I think one of the things that is maybe the most difficult to, I guess, in explaining climate change is that, you know, it doesn't necessarily feel tangible to a lot of to a lot of people, you know, because they don't necessarily see it in their own lives. Can you talk a bit about how you guys visually represented this?
Well, in our world, you can see climate change happening wherever you go. But a really dramatic thing we shot was there's a huge glacier in Greenland called the Store Glacier, and we went there to film one of the big moments when a huge skyscraper-sized iceberg breaks away, and that's dramatic. But probably the most poignant place is there's this area on the Russian coast of Siberia where the sea ice is gone, and walrus that traditionally live on sea ice have suddenly lost the platform that supports them, which they feed from, and they are just gathering in these huge numbers. So we filmed this, what they call a haul out, with over 100,000 animals on one beach. Those animals shouldn't be there, and so I mean that's a really, really tangible sign of climate change.
Could you repeat that real quick? You broke up that last part there.
Yeah, they're up to 100,000 animals come to this one beach, and they just shouldn't be there. They literally are climate change refugees because the platform they should be on, the sea ice, has gone.
Right. Talk a bit about how you know, you're the executive producer of this, along with your partner, Alistair. And so you guys are kind of, you know, guiding the ship. How did you arrange this massive production, basically?
Well, I guess step one, get a good team. And in wildlife filmmaking, like in all filmmaking, the team is everything. And we reckon we had the best team, and you know, a world-class team. And that's, first of all, the producers and their assistants and researchers. And the step one was to excuse me, really sort of get into the whole scale of the story, to find the best stories, to find the best locations. We took a year doing that. And then it was to go out into the field and record those things. And we spent 2.5 years doing that part. So, excuse me, that's pretty much how we went about doing it.
And what are some of the, I guess, complications of production that arise when you're doing things like this, and how do you deal with that?
I mean, the biggest issue with wildlife filmmaking is that the audience wants more. They want to see things they haven't seen before. They want to see better. And there's always a good reason why you haven't seen things before, because they're difficult, they're costly. So, and there's risk attached. And so Alistair and I often say that our main job is managing risk. You have to risk something to get something new. But if you risk too much, you fail. You don't risk enough, you fail. So it's finding that balance to sort of get there. Don't burn all your budget on hopeless things, but you've got to risk quite a lot of your budget on things that people have never seen before.
Right, and I guess certainly complications can arise from working around animals, not necessarily working with them. I mean, I'm sure you guys aren't telling the lions and tigers and things like that what to do.
There are always issues with the animals. Are they going to show up? And there are always issues with the weather, the whole natural world. You can do as much planning as you possibly can, but it's always that moment when you actually land on the location. You look around, and say, "Okay, that's not quite what we had in mind," and then you have to then work with your skills and your field craft. And that's why we really rely on top wildlife filmmakers, because they're the ones that can really get the best out of each location and minimize our risk.
Well, what are you looking for in terms of, directors and cinematographers, that you take out there into the wild? What qualities are you looking for in them?
Yeah, it's about the cinematographers, and because the first thing they have to know is what's going to happen in 10 minutes time. It's absolutely pointless knowing what's going to happen in 30 seconds because you're not going to be in the right place and you're not going to be set up. So you first and foremost have to have people who can really get into the heads of their subject, into the situation, and predict the future. And that's a huge skill, and that's only got through huge experience. Then, when it's all kicking off, they have to compose a shot. So they've got to know how to do it artistically, get the light right and everything. And then they've got to get it in focus. And if you've got a cheetah barreling down towards you, at 50 miles an hour, and you've got to hold that thing big in frame and in focus. Well, I'm glad I don't have that job. So it's a whole. But they also, and I think with the cinematographer as well, they've also got to be thinking how they create a sequence, because we call ourselves directors, but in wildlife filmmaking, there's only enough time for the person behind the camera to get the shots that are required to recreate that event, to build a sequence. And that, again, is a huge, huge skill. There's no time for someone alongside them saying, get the wide, get the close-up, get the insert shot, get that cutaway. They're just having to go through it all because that event is going to be over in a minute. And if they haven't picked all those shots, when you get to the edit suite, you can't do anything with it. So this is why these guys are rock stars. And our job, I think, really more as the producers of the show is to look at the big story and then to build all the components from these events into a narrative.
One of the things that links a lot of these nature documentaries and helps tell that story is, of course, David Attenborough, with whom you've worked a lot. What is that special quality that he has as a narrator that helps tell these stories?
I think at the starting point, you've got someone who has got huge background knowledge. He really understands the whole picture, and he will look at the words and change the words or what have you through his understanding, and that's the first point. His performance itself, if you listen to it, it all sounds so easy. It sounds really sort of it's just David there, and it's always been David. But if you listen to every single sentence, the emphasis is in exactly the right spot, exactly the right place. It's a huge performance. And when we're recording with David, we let him just run with it, because when David started doing narrations, they had to be live anyway because they didn't have a way to to come in and out of record. So he got used to doing the whole thing on a run. And he's very disciplined about that. Obviously, you know, the fluffs and what have you, we can go back, and he's very good at dropping in. But it's a performance, and it's a very, very skilled performance. And like all great performances, you're not really aware of why they're great. It's only when you analyze the sort of detail. But David's real thing for us is he's a huge inspiration. And if you ask David to make a film, and he says, yeah, and you turn up with a bad film, and he's disappointed, that's the worst thing in the world. So you don't want to disappoint him. So it spurs you on to make sure the film's pretty good.
Right. It's always good to have that.
Big impact, actually. It does on me anyway.
Right. It's always good to have that person there to make you want to go up to the next level.
Yeah, he has very high standards.
Yeah, I can tell from the work he does. You're a previous Emmy nominee for your work on The Private Life of Plants. Can you just talk a bit about what that recognition meant for you?
I think recognition from your colleagues is always the thing you most crave, isn't it? In our business, I think we all love it from the audience when you have a success, but when your colleagues actually sort of look at your work and say, yeah, that's good, we appreciate that, there's nothing better. And when it's obviously colleagues of the most prestigious award there is in the world, that's even more better. So it's a big moment, and fingers crossed for the future, maybe. Who knows?
One more thing before I let you go. I mean, you mentioned, you know, the aspirational message at the end of this. And it just makes me think about, you know, what do you hope that audiences at home, you know, people who were just watching this on Netflix, what do you hope that they take away from it in terms of, you know, what they can do to help solve this problem?
I think first and foremost, I hope they're reminded that nature is, you don't throw it away. It's just too good. Secondly, that big fundamental issue that absolutely doesn't have to go down the chute. We can resolve it. And then all of us can do things on our own lives, which will make a difference. But the key thing is to say, you know, to look to how your world is run and how it's managed, and say, well, look, guys, you know, you don't want your bank account to just go down the tube because the financial world is badly managed. You expect it to be run properly. So you don't want your atmosphere to go down the tube. You expect that to be run properly. I think that's the thing, is it's a kind of just to build the normal expectations we have about our world, which is to have it run properly, and apply that to the natural world. Then we'll fix it. Absolutely.
Well, Keith, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on another terrific documentary series. And thank you. You're welcome. And thanks to all of you at home for watching. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button below, and make sure you visit us at goldderby.com, where we pull experts and users like yourselves to figure out who's going to win Emmys, Oscars, Grammys, Tonys, and all the other major award shows. Thank you so much.